to talk about our efforts to find the new herbicides for water-seeded rice here in California. As I said earlier, we do have a serious problem with herbicide-resistant weeds. Can I have the next slide? And this slide show you a compiled results for the herbicide resistance screening we have done over 6 years actually. And what you see here is the herbicide name, and you see how many samples we tested. Those samples came from growers with they had difficulties to control them, came from them, and we test them for resistance in our greenhouse. And so you see the number of population or species we test them, we compile everything, and then here in the end, the percent resistance. If you look at thiobincart, we tested 495 samples. 44% of these samples were resistant to thiobincart. We tested 459 samples for clomazone. Only 6% were resistant to clomazone. And that's kind of a trend we have seen over the years. The grower complain about lack of control with the clomazone. When they send a sample to test them for resistance, we found very little resistance. And we work on this issue before, and I think I reported in prior meetings. The reason for that, this has happened mostly in early planting rice, where people plant early, they use clomazone, which is serrano, and the weather is relatively cool, and then the weed doesn't germinate, and it germinate later on. And when they germinate a month later, by that time, serrano dissipate in the soil. So the reason farmers think they are not getting control or they have resistance is just the timing. If you use serrano late in the season, probably the weed control is going to be much better than use it early in the season. We did test 448 samples for propanil, and we found 87% are resistant to propanil. If you look at the clincher and granite, these are ALS inhibitor. We tested quite a few samples of these, and you can see above 80% resistance. One interesting thing is here, bensulfuron, which is Lantex. We tested 104 sample, and 90% of these sample came resistant. So you can see for this herbicide, really, we have high level of resistance and widespread resistance. The one we did not see a lot of resistance to it is a grandistan. We tested 70 samples, only 1% was resistant to grandistan. So this what this tells us, that we do need for a new tools, a new straight, a new herbicide, a new method to control weeds, and especially herbicide resistant weeds. So we're working with several new molecules, and can I have the next slide? And we're making good progress with several of these, and some of these product is going to be in the market in 1 to 3 years. I think the first one probably is going to be pyroclonal and fluoropyroxyfen benzyl. They may be in the market next year, and then TV29 will be in the market later on. I did talk about the oxy-rise, and I'm not going to talk about it here. We are working also on 2 other new herbicide, but we are not ready to present any of the result at this point. Now, pyroclonal is in the registration process. The package at EPA now and DPR is going to be marketed under name Zambu. This is the #1 selling product around the world, but it's not registered in US and California. And the company lately came to the US to market it here. It is a PPO inhibitor, similar mode of action to oxyfluorophene, similar mode of action to carfentrazone, which is shark. And this herbicide can be used as a basic treatment, like what I said before, it works better in continuous flood system compared to drill seeded, and the result you get from this herbicide look pretty good. It has a broad spectrum weed control. It controls most broadleaf weeds. It's decent on grasses, does not control sprinkle top. That's the weakness, one of the major weakness of this herbicide. It's weak on bulrush, but it's good on smaller flower. And as I said, the application timing is day of seeding. We tried to use it before, and we tried to use it after day of seedings. The result is not as good as day of seeding. So if you want to get a good result from this herbicide, you got to go with day of seeding. Can I have, now, what weeds you're going to control with this herbicide? As I said, I gave you a summary of the weeds that you can control them, but one of the weakness you're going to have is sprinkle top, and keep that in mind. Do we get injury on the rise? We do get some stunting. The stunting probably less than what we get with oxyflorophene, very slight stunting early in the season, and then once this rise start to grow, it goes away, and you will not notice it within 25 days after planting. You know, we did a study here where we look at the Zambu applied alone, Zambu with other herbicide, and the objective of this study, can we close the gap in the Zambu treatment and get near perfect weed control? And the answer is yes. We do have multiple treatments that can give us near perfect weed control. You got to look at what weeds you have. You got to look at what herbicide you have, and then you're gonna match those herbicide to come up with good weed control. You know, we had the good control with Zambu and Serrano, good control with Zambu and Butte. So we do have multiple treatments that can give us excellent weed control. Can I have the next one? Okay. Now, as I said, you can get some stunting from Zambu, but it never reflects in yield reduction. Yield with Zambu, we could look at the numbers here, it looks pretty good, and we did not see any impact on the yield from this stunting. The good weed control, lack of stunting can result in good and high yield. You can see some of these treatment give us more than 10,000 pounds per acre, which is very good. Can I have the other slide? This is a picture we show you Zambu applied alone and a treated control, which you can see how much weed pressure we had, and also Zambu applied with Serrano. And I will get to this in the next slide. Can I have the next slide? Now, before I get to the slide I want to talk about it, I want to show you this slide. What we did over the years, we include Zambu, which is pyracloral, in our herbicide screening, herbicide resistant screening. And every sample we receive for the weeds, we stick Zambu with it. And what you see in this slide, one of the population we tested, and you see control. You see here Bolero, the weed survived Bolero, which is thiopincar. You see Serrano, you got decent control with Serrano. And you see here Butte, this is watergrass, by the way, and it survived Butte treatment, but when you apply paraclonal, you get complete control. Every resistant population we tested, we were able to control it with Zambu. Can I have the next slide? Now, we did many other studies beside the efficacy I show you. One of the study we did, we look at the water level in the field and if that's going to impact the efficacy of Zambu. So we did this study on larger plot where we had the whole basin with 1 inch deep water. And the reason we did that study, we want to see if farmer doesn't have enough water or they flood the field, and part of the field was deep water 4 inches, the other part is 1 inch. What's going to happen in this 1 inch water? And what we found, we still going to get good control of the weeds, even if we do not have a deep water in the field. I don't encourage you to do that, but we did that just to check if you don't have enough water in the field, can it work? The other study we did, we look at dispersion of Zambu in the field. We know that sometimes the pilot doesn't do a good job when they spread the granule. By the way, we have Zambu in granule form. So that's what is going to be labeled. And we know the pilot does not do a good job in spreading the granules in the field. Multiple reasons for that. Could be a power line closed, could be an orchard closed, whatever. And so we want to see, does Zambu migrate? Does Zambu disperse in the field? And what we did see that it goes 30 feet from the place where we put the herbicide. That's the maximum distance we tested. It could be more, but we know at this point that Zambu can migrate and disperse for 30 feet from the site of application. I told you earlier that Zambu does not have a great activity on sprinkle top. So we're working about a combination of Zambu and Serrano. And I've been talking to the company if they can develop a vehicle, which is a granule that has both of these active ingredients in it. And if they do that, then we can get really good control of sprinkle top. I don't know if they can achieve that, but I hope they will work on it and they can get that done for us. The other thing I want to report to you, over the years, we work with a molecule, a herbicide, which is ALS inhibitor under the name of Strata. And I didn't think at that point Strata is good herbicide. But Strata has one positive thing, it works on sprinkle top. So the question is, can the company build a molecule, a granule that has Zambu and Strata together? And both of these herbicides owned by the same company. And if they can do that, probably we will get the benefit of Strata to control sprinkle top and the benefit of Zambu to control everything else. So these are other things we're trying to do to fine tune the use of Zambu in our rice. Can I have the next slide? Now, the other new herbicide, we've been working on it since 2016, is a fluoropyroxafen benzyl, which is Loyant. This is a herbicide from Corteva, and we've been telling you it's going to come to the market. I was hoping last year we will have it in the market. It didn't happen. I was hoping this year would be in the market. It didn't happen. I think it's still with DPR. DPR working on buffer zone, and they have to work with EPA. So the latest I know, and I am not saying 100% I'm sure, but next year probably is going to be in the market. This is a synthetic auxin, similar mode of action to Grandistant, similar mode of action to 2,4-D, but is different than other two herbicides. 2,4-D is phenoxy chemistry. Grandistant is pyridine chemistry. Loyant is picolinate acid chemistry. If you think about Grandistant, well, the other thing about this herbicide is has different binding site compared to the Grandistant and 2,4-D. So that's good from resistant management standpoint. Now, if you know Grandistant, which is an auxin type herbicide widely used on rice, Grandistant control mainly bulrush and broadleaf weeds. It doesn't have activity on grasses and it's not strong on smaller flower. This herbicide is different because it has activity on grasses. It controls barnyard grass. It has decent activity on late water grass, mediocre activity on early water grass. Broadleaf weeds, it controls them better than Grandistant. Bulrush, I think Grandistant worked better than this herbicide on bulrush. Smaller flower, this herbicide Loyant worked better on smaller flower than Grandistant. So it is a herbicide that's gonna bring us some benefits. This herbicide is not gonna be a base treatment. is going to be a herbicide for a cleanup treatment. It's not going to be standalone herbicide. You have to mix it with other herbicide to achieve a broad spectrum weed control. So go back to the weed control. I talk about it. One other weakness of, can you go back to the slide, the previous slide? One weakness, no, the next one. One weakness about this herbicide, it has no activity on springle top. So that's another a new herbicide that doesn't work good on springle top. You know, springle top is going to be a problem for us because if you want to control springle top, the best shot you have on springle top is with your base treatment. Serrano, Butte is the best work on springle top, or Bolero. If you miss springle top with these three herbicides, which is the base treatment, early application herbicide, and springle top emerge, the only herbicide that can control springle top is a clincher, Cihalofop. And we do have a lot of resistance to Cihalofop. So if springle top when emerge through the base treatment, it's tough luck to control this weed. So that's why we focus a lot on springle top management in our program. As I said, this is a herbicide with a broad spectrum activity. And what's about injury on rice? As I said, we've been working on this herbicide for quite a few years. And you see some stunting and you see some malformation on the tip of the rice leaf, you know, when you apply it. But it's also temporary and the plant will recover and they will be fine. We did test this herbicide against most of our rice cultivars, and in general, it is safe on all of these rice herbicide we tested. This herbicide is going to have a broad window of application, 2 leaves to 60 days before harvest. So we have a concern that if we put it too late, is it going to affect spike initiation? Is it going to affect sterility in rice? And we did work on it. Denise Ince, he's on the call. He's a PhD student in my program. He worked on this and he put 2x rate of this herbicide late in the season, and he did not get sterility or effect on spike initiation, which is he did study blanking and things like that. The good thing is there's no negative effect. The company is going to label a rate which is 1.3 pints. And also they're going to label 1 to 1.3 pints. My suggestion is to go with 1.3 pints. We want to go with a higher rate so we don't develop resistance. And we did test 2.6 pints, and we had good safety with 2.6 pints. The company will allow 2 applications in 1 season. And so the total amount you can put in 1 season is 2.6 pints, but you cannot put it in 1 application. It has to be in 2 applications and 2 weeks between applications. Can I have the next slide? Now, we've been working on this Loyant herbicide for some time. I think we did look at also adjuvant over the time. We think MSO, methylated seed oil, is the best adjuvant work with this herbicide compared to others, although the label will allow you to use crop oil and non-ionic surfactant, but we think MSO will work better from our research at least. We did compare Loyant with the standard herbicide treatment, which is Butte, and also we use 2 kind Butte followed by Granite GR and Granite SC. And can I see the next slide, please? And what you see here, the injury on the rice, this is 20 days after seeding, is minimal, 3%. It's not very high. The only thing you see here is high, 35%. That did not come from Loyant. That came from Serrano. So Loyant itself does not cause the level of injury that you're concerned about it, but you're gonna see some stunting, slight stunting, and you're gonna see some damage on the tip of the few for on the new leaves. Can I have the next slide? Weed control, it's excellent, especially when you mix it with other compound, you can get excellent weed control with Voyant. Can I have the next slide? Yield-wise, we did look at the yield, and you can see here Butte granite, my standard treatment, and you can see Voyant applied alone, about the same yield. So this stunting, this malformation on the tip of the leaves did not reflect in any yield reduction. Can I have the other next slide? Picture to show you the results in the field, and you can see it looks pretty good under field condition. Voyant here alone, Voyant with the clincher, and Voyant with the Butte granite. That's my standard treatment to compare with. Again, I emphasize, this is not basic treatment. You got to combine it with other herbicide. It's a herbicide to use for a cleanup or treatment, and it's not going to work on sprinkle time. Can I have the next one? Now, the last herbicide I'm going to share with you is the work we've been doing on this TV29. It's a new grass control herbicide from FMC. We start working on this herbicide since 2016. This herbicide has a mode of action which is novel and new. It inhibits an enzyme by name of dihydroorotate dehydrogenase. This is a herbicide that's a key enzyme in the pyrimidine synthesis. This is a new mode of action. We do not have any herbicide in the market with this mode of action. It is, we're excited about it because it controls grasses. It's active, very active on the grasses. They start selling this in Asia Pacific, but it's going to be a while before we get it here in California, the US, because of the regulatory processes take longer here. We've been doing many work with this herbicide. We're testing different granules, and I think they do have a good granule that we can use it in our rice field. We tested against multiple varieties over the years, and we're going to do more varietal evaluation this year. It's excellent grass control herbicide. It controls all water grasses. It controls barnyard grass, and it's very active on sprinkle top. So I think from the spectrum of grass control, this is a good fit for our rice field. It may have some activity on a broadleaf weeds. I don't think the company is going to label it as a broadleaf herbicide, but in our work, we did see activity on duck salad. We did see activity on water hyssop, but that's a value added to this herbicide. It has a broad window of application. You can go from day of seeding to 5-leaf stage. Of course, when you go to 5-leaf stage, you need to increase the rate. This herbicide used at low rates. I don't have exactly the number, what rate they're gonna label, but it's gonna be in the range of about 3 to 4 ounces a product. So it's low dose, low rate herbicide. And as I said earlier, it's available in granule form, and all our variety, we test them, show good tolerance to this herbicide. This is a herbicide, really, we did not see any rice damage. We probably, the stunting you're gonna see is, you cannot notice even the stunting on the rice. Can I have the next slide? As I said earlier, we do have a program where we test weeds for herbicide resistance to the growers. And we including TV29 in this program. And in every sample we receive grasses, we test TV29 with the other herbicides. So this is a population, one of the population we tested. You see on the left side of you see untreated control. This weeds, which is water grass, spray with the clincher, survive. supposed to kill it, but it survived. Super one, supposed to kill it, it survived. Regiment, it survived. So it has resistance here. You can see the three mode of actions. When we include TV29, we were able to kill this weed. We include TV29 in all our testing, and all resistant weeds, we were able to control them with TV29, which is very encouraging because that can address the herbicide resistant problem we have here in our field. Can I have the next slide? And the last slide, I'm showing you the efficacy of this herbicide in the field, untreated control on the left, on your left side, and TV29 on your right side. And you see the TV29 took care of all the grasses in the plot.